right, so today we're taking a deep dive into James chapter 3, verses 1 through 18.
Okay.
And we're going to be looking at the power of words and the challenge of what James refers to as taming the tongue.
Uh-huh.
And I have your notes here and some study guides that I think will be really helpful
Oh, great.
as we kind of extract the wisdom nuggets from this passage.
Sounds good.
Are you ready to unlock some serious biblical insights?
I am.
Okay, good.
I'm ready.
So right away, James kind of throws down a pretty strong warning about being careful
Right.
not to have too many people become teachers because they'll be judged more strictly.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's like when you're in a position to teach James, you have a platform.
Yeah.
And so your words really do carry weight.
Right.
And so with that comes greater responsibility to use those words wisely and ethically.
That makes total sense.
Yeah,
You know?
right.
And he kind of links that to the idea of being a perfect person or a mature person
Right.
by being able to control your speech.
Right.
Like that's an indication that you've kind of reached a level of spiritual maturity.
It's a high bar.
Yeah.
But I think it's about the impact our words have on us and other people.
Yeah.
That's what he's talking about.
But he doesn't just leave it at like, hey, control your tongue. He actually gives us
He goes on.
these incredible metaphors to help us understand.
Oh,
I think.
they're so vivid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's unpack those metaphors a little bit.
Okay.
One of the things that he compares the tongue to is a horse's bit.
Right.
So this tiny little tool that can control this big, powerful animal.
Yeah, I think about the leverage.
Yeah.
You know, a small bit can control a massive horse. So it's the same thing with words.
Yeah.
A small word can have a huge impact on our lives and our relationships.
And then he also compares it to the rudder of a ship.
Yeah.
So like a small thing that can
steer a huge vessel through rough seas.
Totally. Yeah.
Our words can do that too.
Amazing.
Navigate the course of our lives.
And then he throws in the fire analogy, which is just so powerful.
Yeah.
Behold how great a matter a little fire kindleth.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to that. You
Yeah.
know, what damage fire can do.
Right.
And James uses that to show how much damage
An uncontrolled tongue
an uncontrolled tongue can do.
can inflict.
And he even says that the tongue is set on fire by hell.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
What do you think he means when he says that?
Well, I think it's that idea that our words can be used for good and for evil. There's a moral dimension to what we say. They can be instruments of love and kindness and truth, or they can be weapons of hatred, deceit, and destruction.
Right.
And I think what James is saying is when we allow our tongue to be controlled by negative emotions like anger, bitterness, or jealousy, that's when it's tapping into a source of darkness,
Okay.
which can have consequences.
Yeah, and that kind of leads us to this really challenging statement where he claims that no one can really tame the tongue
Right.
on their own.
It's a sobering thought.
Yeah, he says, but the tongue can no man tame.
Yeah.
It is an unruly evil full of deadly poison.
That's deadly poison.
So are we just doomed
Right?
to keep messing up with our words?
Well, it speaks to the human struggle
Yeah.
with sin and temptation.
Right.
But I don't think James is saying we're helpless.
So where do we go from here?
Yeah.
How do we even begin to address this challenge of taming the tongue
Right.
if it's such a powerful and unruly force?
Well, I think we go to where James contrasts this untamed tongue with the idea of wisdom from above.
Okay.
I think that's the key.
Okay, yeah. That's an interesting contrast.
Yeah.
So he's kind of, setting up these two different types of wisdom.
Right.
One that leads to chaos and conflict,
Yeah.
and one that produces peace and righteousness.
Right.
But I have to say, I struggle with that phrase, wisdom from above. It sounds kind of,
Mystical.
yeah, mystical.
Yeah.
What does it actually look like in everyday life?
Right. I think James gives us some clues.
Okay.
He describes it as first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated,
Okay.
full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy.
Okay, I see it now.
Yeah.
It's not just about avoiding bad words.
Right.
It's about cultivating a whole different way of being in the world.
Right. And interacting with people
Yeah.
out of that.
Okay, so let's break down some of those qualities that he lists.
Okay.
Because I think they can give us some really practical guidance. So he starts with pure.
Right.
What does that mean in the context of our speech?
Well, I think it points to the motivation behind our words.
Okay.
Pure speech comes from a pure heart, a heart that's aligned with goodness, truth, and integrity.
Right.
It's not about manipulating people or getting our own way,
Yeah.
but speaking from genuine care and concern.
That makes sense. It's like offering genuine encouragement versus giving someone a backhanded compliment. The words might sound similar, but the intention behind them is totally different.
Right.
Okay, so then this wisdom is peaceable.
Yeah.
So this is about being intentional about creating harmony
Right.
in our relationships and our communities.
Yeah, not just avoiding conflict,
Yeah.
but seeking reconciliation and understanding.
This one resonates with me because I tend to be a little conflict avoidant.
Yeah.
But I'm realizing that being peaceable is not about being passive or sweeping things under the rug.
Right.
It's about actually engaging in difficult conversations with grace and humility,
Yeah.
with the goal of restoring relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, what about gentle?
Right.
This is a word that I think is often misunderstood,
Yeah.
especially in today's culture,
For sure.
where, assertiveness and boldness are so highly valued.
Right. Gentleness is often seen as weakness or
Yeah.
passivity.
Right.
But I think James is talking about strength under control,
Okay.
a strength that's rooted in compassion and empathy.
Can you give me an example of what that might look like in practice?
Sure, like imagine someone is criticizing you harshly or unfairly.
Okay.
A gentle response might be to acknowledge their feelings without getting defensive,
Okay.
to listen with empathy,
Yeah.
and to speak the truth in love, even if it's difficult to hear.
It's about choosing to respond with grace and kindness.
Exactly.
Even when we're tempted to react with anger or defensiveness.
Right.
It's about breaking that cycle of negativity.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and then he adds this phrase, easy to be entreated,
Yeah.
which is kind of an archaic way of saying, but I think it gets at something really important.
I think of it as being open to reason.
Okay.
Being willing to listen to others' perspectives
Right.
and be receptive to correction.
Yeah.
It's about humility.
Yeah.
Recognizing that we don't have all the answers.
Right.
Being willing to learn from others.
So being teachable,
Yes.
not being so set in our ways.
Exactly.
Okay, and then he talks about this wisdom being full of mercy and good fruits. Mercy, I think, is about extending grace and compassion to others.
Yeah. Especially those who have wronged us.
Yeah.
Choosing forgiveness over resentment.
Right.
Offering kindness instead of judgment.
It's about recognizing our shared humanity.
Yes.
And extending the same grace and forgiveness
Yeah.
that we ourselves have received.
Exactly.
Okay, and what about good fruits?
Well, I think that points to the tangible outcomes
Okay.
of a life lived in alignment with this wisdom from above.
Okay.
Our actions speaking louder than words. Living in a way that reflects the love, kindness, generosity, and peace
Yeah.
that flows from the source.
It's not enough to just talk about being kind and compassionate.
Yeah.
We have to actually live it out.
Exactly.
And then he emphasizes that true wisdom is without partiality,
Right.
meaning it's fair and just.
Yeah, treating everyone with dignity and respect,
Right.
regardless of their background, their beliefs, or their status.
That's a radical concept.
It is.
In a world where we're constantly told to, judge and categorize people based on these superficial differences.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that we're all created in the image of God.
Yeah.
And that every human being deserves to be treated with love and respect.
And then finally, he says that this wisdom is without hypocrisy.
Yes.
So this means living in a way that aligns with our words.
Right. Being true to ourselves and others.
Right.
Walking the talk.
Yeah.
Being authentic.
Yeah, it's easy to fall into the trap of saying all the right things,
Right.
but not actually living them out.
Exactly.
True wisdom is about integrating our beliefs and values
Yes.
into our actions and relationships.
You got it.
Okay, so we've got this pretty clear picture now of what this wisdom from above looks like.
Yeah.
It's pure, peaceable, gentle, open to reason, merciful, fruitful, impartial, and sincere.
That's quite a list.
That's a long list.
Yeah.
But how do we actually cultivate these qualities in our own lives?
Yeah.
Like, it all sounds so ideal, but I'll be honest, I often fall short.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
It's a lifelong journey. We're all works in progress.
I mean, we spent all this time talking about the qualities of wisdom from above.
Right.
And it's clear that it's this powerful force for good,
Yeah.
in our lives and in our relationships.
Yeah.
But I keep coming back to that idea that, no one can truly tame the tongue on their own.
Right.
Like, it feels a bit discouraging
Yeah.
if it's such a constant struggle.
Yeah.
Where do we even begin?
Well, I think that's where humility comes in.
Okay.
James reminds us that we're all prone to stumble with our words.
Yeah.
We're all going to say things we regret.
Yeah.
So I think the first step is just acknowledging our humanness.
Right.
Recognizing that we're not perfect and that we're going to mess up sometimes.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. That kind of takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
Instead of striving for this unattainable ideal of perfect speech,
Right.
we can kind of approach this challenge with a bit more grace.
Right.
And self-compassion.
I think that's where awareness comes in. Once we acknowledge that we have this tendency to slip up, we can start to pay more attention to our words.
Right.
Notice the patterns in our speech.
Yeah.
Become more mindful of the impact.
Yeah, it's like hitting the pause button before we speak.
Exactly.
Taking a moment to breathe.
Yeah.
Collect our thoughts.
And sometimes the best response is no response at all.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Silence can be powerful.
Especially when we're tempted to, engage in arguments or gossip.
Right.
Choosing to just remain silent can be a really powerful act of self-control.
Yes.
That reminds me of the Quaker practice of holding silence in meetings.
Right.
It's about creating a space for reflection.
Yes.
Allowing that still small voice of wisdom to emerge.
I love that.
And speaking of listening, I think that's another really important part.
Yeah.
Of taming the tongue and cultivating wisdom.
For sure.
James describes wisdom from above as being easy to be entreated. It implies a willingness to really hear what other people have to say.
Yeah, being open to different perspectives.
Even if we disagree.
Recognizing that we don't have a monopoly on truth.
Right.
Being willing to learn from others.
Yeah, when we approach conversations with that kind of posture,
yes,
of curiosity and humility, we're less likely to be judgmental or defensive.
Right.
We're more likely to build bridges of understanding.
I love that image.
Right.
Building bridges.
It's so much more constructive than
building walls.
Building walls
Yes.
of division and separation.
It's hard to listen with an open heart, though.
Yeah, it is. It takes practice.
Especially when we feel strongly about something.
But I think it starts with recognizing that everyone has a story.
Yes.
Everyone has this unique perspective.
Right.
Shaped by their experiences and beliefs.
And when we can approach a conversation with that understanding,
Yeah.
we're more likely to listen with empathy and compassion.
And when we truly listen, we might even discover that we have more in common than we initially thought.
Exactly.
We might even change our minds about something.
The beauty of dialogue.
But even beyond just listening well, I think there's something to be said for speaking words that heal, encourage, and uplift.
Oh, for sure.
Remember how James talks about wisdom from above being full of mercy and good fruits?
Yeah.
Like, that's a reminder that our words can be these powerful instruments of love and kindness.
Yeah. I think about the times when someone has offered me a kind word or a gesture of support.
Yeah.
When I was struggling, and those words were like balm to my soul.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's amazing how a few simple words
Yes.
can make such a difference in someone's life.
For sure.
And it makes me want to be more intentional about offering words of encouragement
Well, too.
and affirmation to the people around me.
Yes. And it's not about being fake or Pollyannish or anything.
Right.
It's about choosing to focus on the good, to express gratitude,
Yeah.
to celebrate the beauty we see in others.
It's about being a light in the darkness, spreading kindness and hope wherever we go.
And it starts with recognizing the power of our words.
And choosing to use them for good.
So well said.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into James 3,
Okay.
I'm left with this renewed sense of responsibility for my words.
Yeah.
I want to be a peacemaker, a bridge builder,
Yes.
a source of encouragement and hope.
That's beautiful.
And I know it won't be easy,
Right.
but I'm inspired to keep practicing,
Yeah.
to keep learning, and to keep striving to align my speech
Yes.
with the wisdom from above.
I think James would be proud.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes, thank you.
We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.